The Goodreads Choice Award has just been announced. Historically, the award is a little bit unpredictable, and I don't think this year is any different. Hello everyone, welcome to Harry's Book Cafe. So the Goodreads Choice Awards has just been announced. For those of you who are not really familiar with Goodreads, they are basically a website with all the books, pretty much every book under the sun, and you can just log on and search for that book, write a review, and also give it how many stars that you see fit. And every year they have this award over, I think, 15 different categories. Every year, this time they announce the winner of each category, and the result has just been announced. So I just thought I'd use this opportunity to talk about the books that's been winning in each category. I'm not going to go through every single category because there are just simply too many. There are 15 of them in total. So I'm going to cover 5 of them of the categories that I really personally enjoy, and that's general fiction, horror, which is one of my favorites, thrillers, non-fictions, and I think history and biography. So yeah, I thought I'd just talk about those 5 categories, talk about the winners in those categories and the runner-up. Okay, so without further ado, let's dig into the first category, and that's general fiction. Rather interestingly, general fiction is the category that, for this year at least, most of the books I have never really heard of. I'm not sure whether or not that's my ignorance. It probably partly it is, but not 100%, because when you walk into Waterstone, those are the books that you don't really see, or vast majority of the books that you don't really see in Waterstone or in Amazon Chart or in W.H. Smith. So it's a little bit weird that vast majority of the nominees are something that I have never really heard of. But the winner is Yellowface, and that is quite a famous book. In fact, I have done a review for this particular book, so if you haven't seen that already, check it out. It's really, really interesting. It's about the question of friendship and plagiarism, and about those 2 young writers, one of them stealing others' work and published as her own to a critical acclaim, and all the fireworks that resulted as follow. Very, very interesting book. I really enjoyed reading that. So yeah, check it out, that particular review. The next one, the runner-up, is Hello Beautiful. I have never heard of this book, so it's interesting to actually see it there. By the way, Yellowface won it by quite a large margin. Yellowface won it by 200,000 votes, and Hello Beautiful, the runner-up, only won it by 60,000 votes. So large margin between first and second. The one that I have heard about in this particular category is Tom Lake, and that's only because I have seen it display on the tables of Waterstone one day, and that's by Ann Patchett, a very famous writer. The other one is Jojo Moyes, Someone Else's Shoes. I don't know about this book, but I do know about the writer, so I'm sure that's going to be very, very good books. That's pretty much the general fictions. I mean, there are other novels listed in these fictions, but as I said, I don't really know about them. But I do want to read Tom Lake. That's something that I'm definitely adding on to my TBR. So the second category I really want to talk about is the thriller category. I'm a big thriller fan. I enjoy the twists and turns, that excitement. The winner of this is the Housemates Secret. I haven't heard of it, and that is completely my ignorance, because this one is featured also on Amazon. In fact, this is the second installment of the Housemaid series. I think there are 3 in total. The third one is still being written. So this is the second one. I just read it online that you can actually read this particular novel as a standalone, so you don't need to read the first one. Very interesting plotline about this particular family, very wealthy, hired a housemaid. The housemaid has a very interesting history behind her, and the household who was doing the hiring again has a very dark secret. So the housemaid has only seen the husband, Mr. Douglas. She's been employed in this house for 3 months or so, and during that time she hasn't seen Mrs. Douglas for once. And the husband has warned him about opening the bedroom chamber. She, as a housemaid, is forbidden to enter that chamber because that's where the wife is resting and she needs her rest. And that's all he told her about. But one day her curiosity get the better of her. She opened the door, finds Mrs. Scott Douglas, discovered a very brutal and dark secret, and she decided to help the wife. So very, very interesting plotline. The second one is None of This Is True by Lisa Ju. In fact, I have this one on Kindle. I haven't read it yet. Is on my TBR. The reason it's on my TBR is because this one has featured on Sunday Times best-selling list for quite a long time, actually, top 10. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. The third one is The Only One Left by Riley Seeger. I have seen these books everywhere, in Waterstones, in W.H. Smith's, on YouTube book reviews, on Amazon chat, and the reviews are definitely mixed. Many of them has voiced the fact that this one is a really large book and a slow burner, so it might not be everyone's cup of tea. Riley Seeger is someone that I haven't read before, but I'm a little bit apprehensive because many of the book reviews online has given out a really mixed review about this particular writer, because he's someone who can be absolutely brilliant in one book and dreadfully awful in the next. So let's see how this one turns out. Next one is The Last Devil to Die. In fact, I did the book review. I'll put the link here. Fantastic book. So the next one is horror, and this is definitely my favorite. And perhaps no surprise here, the winner of the horror category is Holly by Stephen King. He seems to be winning horror sections on a regular basis. So there's no really a surprise. In fact, this is Holly is someone that I really, really want to read. She is a character first introduced in Mr. Mercedes, I think the trilogy featuring her. But I watched an interview with Stephen King, and he said every time he writes about the trilogy, Holly as a character starts to develop on her own, and each subsequent books within that trilogy, Holly grows in her scale, in her involvement in the storyline. So he felt compelled to write a standalone novel just featuring Holly, and that's the result of this is Holly. So I'm looking forward to that one. The next one is by Grady Hendrix, How to Sell a Haunted House. Very interesting title. I think the plotline is quite interesting as well, although I did receive some mixed review about this particular one, not so much on Goodreads, but a lot of mixed reviews on Amazon, so a little bit apprehensive. I read one of his novels previously, and that's the Southern Club Guide to Slay Vampires. It's really, really interesting book and well written as well, and I really, really enjoy that. And that's about a bunch of suburban housewomen getting together to slay some vampire. They realize that one of them is vampire. So really interesting book and well written. So I'm looking forward to this one. Another of his books is Horrorstor. That brochure look like book. In fact, I got it here. This one here, the book that looks like a brochure of IKEA. Even the inside is like a IKEA brochure. So this is about something happens in this furniture store, that things keep getting smashed and missing and misplaced. So a bunch of employees decided to stay overnight and see what's going on. That's the novel. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. The third one is House with Good Bones. Picture here. Don't know anything about it. Haven't seen it on Amazon. I haven't seen it in bookstores. So I don't know what's that all about. The next one, however, is something that I really am looking forward to reading, and that's Vampires of El Norte. Beautiful cover. I really like the design. And this is about quite a complicated story. It's not just about the vampire. In fact, vampire is definitely involved in it. It's about these two lovers. One is a cowboy, the other one is a healer. Somewhere in the ranches of Texas. One day, the guy finds the woman dead. She wasn't dead. And he was grief-stricken. He became a cowboy working for different ranches across the U.S. And Mexico. And then the U.S. decided to invade Mexico. The Mexico War started. He went to Mexico, became a Mexican soldier. And the woman actually wasn't dead. So she wanted to be a healer, and she became a healer. And though during the battle they met together, all in the background of a bunch of vampires lurking in the darkness. So it's really, really interesting. And interesting book. I read a couple of reviews on Amazon, and one of them was really interesting because the reviewer said this novel reads like poetry. It is so well written, even though it's a horror novel, it reads like a poetry. So that really got me hooked. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but come on, you got to do that. The other one I'm really looking forward to, The Reformatory, also in horror category. This one has voted quite down. This is number 14th out of 20 nominees. This is voted for the 14th. But the actual reading stars were like 4.57. So the rating itself very high. But just the amount of people voting for it are a little bit low. And that's why it ends up in the 14th. Very interesting book because this is a classic horror based in a private school. And I love things like that. I've mentioned in my previous video, I love the fact of the feeling of collective fear that you have experienced in the Chamber of Secrets. I love that, and this gives that vibe, except it's a lot darker than Harry Potter. So it's based somewhere in Florida, so the element is going to play a part, I hope. Mosquitoes, humidity, heat, and they live in they live in this reformatory, a school, haunted by something. So I'm getting that one immediately. So the next category is non-fiction, and this is something that I'm really enjoy. I love non-fiction novels. Non-fiction novels. I love non-fictions. There's no such a thing as non-fiction novel. It's like alternative fact. I do apologize. So non-fictions, and the winner is Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. I've read one of these gentlemen's books before. It's called Evict. It's also about the housing crisis in the US, and he's written this one, Poverty. I really want to read this one. I'm going to buy that one immediately. It's about why US, the richest country in the world, has so many people engulfed by perpetual poverty, and what that poverty is like, and how can the government actually change it, do things like that to change it. America is a outlier out of all the rich nations. The author has compared it to Germany and South Korea, where the poverty rates of the general population is half of those of the US, percentage-wise. So he's asking why US is such an outlier. The one that I'm really looking forward to is the Cobalt Red. So this is about cobalt mining in Congo. So cobalt is a metal chemical element that is essential in the construction of batteries, especially in today's world with all the electric cars, batteries. Cobalt is in high demand. Congo happens to be the country with more than 75% of the world reserve of cobalt. And this non-fiction is all about the mining operations, the human rights abuses, horrors, the brutalities within that mine itself. It actually reminds me strongly of Blood Diamond. So I'm really interested in this particular type of books about mining operations and human rights abuse, stuff like that. So I'm going to definitely get this one and read it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the last category, and that is history and biography. The winner of this category is The Witcher, a tale of shipwreck, mutiny and murder. I have this book on my TBR for quite a long time. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's based on real story. The writer seeks to explain what happened. There's lots of blood and gore and stuff like that. So I'm really interested in reading that one. I have another of his book on order, and that's Lost City of Z, which has been made into a Netflix series. I haven't seen it. I'm just waiting for the book so I can watch the movie, read the book and watch the movie and do a comparison. The runner-up is The Six, untold story of America's first women astronauts. Good cover, I really like it. It reminds me of that Apple TV series about black women astronauts working in NASA. A little bit that vibe I get. The next one that I really want to talk about is Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaac. I've done a review, so if you haven't checked out already, I'll put a link here. Very interesting book. I knew nothing about Elon Musk before I read that book, and he's such an amazing character, very controversial, as we know from the news that we read recently about X, Twitter. He is an amazingly driven guy, and if you haven't read it, and if you like to know more in depth about this guy, what he's really like, what makes him tick, I do suggest you give that book a try. Nothing else in this particular category I have read or wanted to read. I think Wedger is the one that I'm really most looking forward to. And that's pretty much it, guys, for the 5 categories I want to talk about. There are also many other, there are 10 more other categories. You got fantasy. I don't read fantasy a lot to really justify my talking about the fantasy category, so I'm gonna skip that. Same as sci-fi is a category that I'm not really interested. I haven't come across any really particularly outstanding sci-fi book, with one exception of Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. That's about it. Ready Player One is one of my all-time favorites. I'm not sure that's sci-fi. Is it? It could be sci-fi. So if it's sci-fi, I take that back. That's my favorite. What other category? They got young adult, something that I'm not particularly interested in. Young adult romance, again, same thing. I've got a romance section, not something that I'm interested in. I've got a memoirs. Memoir is actually quite interesting. The winner is the Britney Spears, so quite interesting book. Very, very popular on Amazon and elsewhere, but I'm just not interested in her. That's not criticism to her. I'm just not really interested in pop culture to justify me reading that book. The other one is Spare, so the runner-up is Spare by Prince Harry. I got that book, haven't read it yet. I'm definitely looking forward to reading that one. So that's quite an interesting category. Other category got humor, romance, fantasy. Yeah, it's the same as fantasy. I don't read enough to really comment on the things that they have listed there. So, but Goodreads is out there. Just Google Goodreads if you're interested and have a look what other things that you might be interested in. But the books I have talked so far in this video are the ones that I would definitely put in my TBR. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I really do hope you liked it. If you do, please give it a thumb up and subscribe. Thank you very much.